Session 2 of the structuring inquiry lessons, about half of it, lessons 8 to 11, looking at the RAPID model, R-A-P-I-D, reviewing the core components and really looking through it. So start with a recap: structure, mindset, memory, change, overlap. Those are the 5 keywords. The idea is that the general principles of the model are that math tells us something about how it should be taught, that the brain is plastic, working memory is limited, minds are attuned to change, and minds link overlapping events. And so they talked again about how the Math Minds model, the RAPID model, is not a balance between traditional and reform math. It's something else. Because when we try to balance the two, often we get muddled. And I see this in my own practice for sure. We talk about this 80-20 rule, like, oh, hey, okay, so 80% of what you're doing should be, direct teaching with problems and examples and really giving the knowledge, and then 20% could be open exploring or problems of the week or stations or something. Or the opposite, where 80% could be large problems, STEM problems, things like that, but then after all of these, you still give your directed lesson. And their perspective is that that is not the best strategy, that the best strategy is to use their model. Use ribbons to be able to weave through these discernments as you go. So a critical discernment is any teacher idea, object association relationship that can be separated and then woven into more complex understandings. They drew this. They drew this image like you got any idea, right? And it's all woven and complicated. And then if you can pull a string of that idea out, that would be a critical discernment. And then afterwards, you have to reweave it or re-ravel it into this contextual concept understanding. That might make some sense, that might make no sense. I mean, generally, ideas are complex. And as teachers, we kind of pull them out, help students notice them, and then weave them back together. So in math, that could be, the example for today was long division. There's a lot of concepts involved in long division. If you can break them out and then teach them back together, then that's much more likely that kids will actually get it. So that's one of the images. We looked at these steps of long division. Let's see what happens if I do this. You just see white, hey? There? Yeah, I'm not getting better at this, but not great. Okay. Don't know if you saw that. This is a long division, and the way you describe that makes a big difference. Let me just go back to this again. Can I just change my size? No. So for this example, you could look at discernments and say 75 is made up of 7 10s and 5 1s. It can be thought of as dividing into equal groups. And so if those 7 10s were divided into 5 groups, you'd get 1 in each group and then 2 left over, and then those 2 10s plus the 5 can be divided further. Whereas usually we teach it this way, sequencing steps. So you divide the 7 and then you write that number on the top, and then you subtract, and dumb monkeys suck bananas, or daughter, mother, sister, brother, dad, mother, sister, brother, whatever. So an example of the long division and different ways of thinking about it, whether you're actually talking about discernments or noticings, or whether you're talking about steps or procedures. This really hit home because this long division thing is something I'm struggling with this year for sure, and the kids are struggling with too. And sometimes you rely on these steps, and it's just where I'm at. So that rapid model, the RA part is about raveling the content. So the RA part is this, thinking about the content and bringing it all together and raveling it. I like weaving it for myself. Makes more sense. And then the PID part is the pedagogy. That's the actual teaching of it. And that's that's prompt, interpret, decide. Which really to me is just a technical way of saying like teach and adjust, or teach, assess, reflect, or whatever it is, right? You prompt them with some sort of math idea. They interpret that math idea and communicate some sort of their understanding, and then you decide as a teacher what to do next. But it's a good way of looking at it. Here's the actual image by M.J. Moreau. So this wasn't my idea at all, but that's that idea here. Unraveling, and then through prompting, interpreting, and deciding, you're teaching that strand, and then this re-raveling step here, I'm not actually sure what the suggestion is. My thinking is that it would most likely be some sort of student-centered piece. Currently I'm thinking, okay, it's my job to unravel a piece of content, and then it's my job to individualize and differentiate and personalize, and then I think it's the student's job to re-ravel, but we'll see what kind of suggestions they have for that. Talked a little bit about ribboning versus blocked lessons. So a blocked lesson is just like we're doing this, and that could be a lecture practice model. It could also be an open problem model. So I'm like, oh, my Friday problem of the week now all of a sudden are being criticized by this model, but that's okay. I mean, whatever. Whereas a ribbon lesson is this idea that learners engage in one idea at a time, and they focus on critical discernments, and it connects it to prior knowledge. So even in this video right now, right, if I looked at you, watcher, as a learner, I should be stopping or encouraging you to pause at every little jot point that I have and discerning whether or not that made sense. Did that make sense? And then if it didn't, I should discern it some more. And if it did, then I continue. And so my teacher hat says like, well, that's impossible. And that's impossible for me, and I only have 8 students. I couldn't imagine 20. But they're confident that they have ways of doing this, and the idea that it's hard doesn't mean I'm not doing it. So I don't have any actual arguments against it other than, oh, that seems tough. Does that make sense? Show me that that makes sense. Okay. Yeah, like I did that. This video is already 8 minutes long. If I was doing that in this video would be like an hour. Like, cause I have all these discernments on my paper here, right? Discernment. And this is what I'm doing right now. I'm really just reviewing their lesson. But if this was a lesson in my classroom and I was stopping at every point, I would be losing everyone very quick. So we'll see. They gave us 2 examples of videos. One was this like funny whale talking about long division and just giving the steps. And then one was Khan Academy describing long division, but then talking more about how it works, which is probably my biggest takeaway for class next week, is to use this Khan Academy video and also probably use my 10s and 1s to actually go back and talk through why we long divide. Let's see if I can write this down here. So this whole idea of if we have 55 divided by 2, that if we have these 2 blocks of 10, we only have 2 groups of those that are split up, and then there's still 1 more left over with 5 singles. And then if we split that in half, we'd get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 with 1 left over. But you see my issue, right? Because I don't think this made any more sense than the procedural steps that I've been following. But maybe it just takes me practicing actually how to teach it. So, over the time that I'm hoping to make these videos, that's okay. These are some thoughts about Ravelling, the rapid teaching method, blocked lessons versus ribboned lessons, and how the heck I can help long division make sense for every learner every time. Ooh, one cool thing. The creators of MathMinds and the model, in order to unravel and get these single discernments, they actually watched videos of themselves teaching lessons and then wrote out like, there's a discernment, there's a discernment, there's a discernment. So if anything's making me feel optimistic, it's that, you know, if I record a video of me teaching something, then maybe I can pull out actually what those discernments are. My issue is that every kid has so many understandings already that I just think it gets so complex so fast. And what I discern is their understanding could be more than they actually understand or less than they actually understand, and that's not good either. So, anyways, I'm rambling. That is critical discernments.